Before we move to the business on the agenda, I would like to remind you of the housekeeping rules for the meeting. As in all our previous council meetings, any request to speak must be made with this microphone to you. If you encounter any problems with your voting handset, please raise your handset in the air and a member of the committee, should anyone wish to socially distance or wear a face covering, they still can as a matter of personal choice. Can I remind members that they should be respectful to each other during the meeting and observe the members' code of conduct. There should be no shouting or pointing of fingers. And once a point of order has been dealt with, it will not be revisited. You are very welcome to attend and observe proceedings. However, I request polite to formally report the death of the former councillor and alderman, Terry MacDonald. Terry represented the Cotswold Ward of Durham City Council between 1987 and just to stand for a moment if you remember Terry. Thank you. Item 1, the minutes. Can I have a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 19th of October 2022?
Hi, Chair.
Item 2, declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare an interest in relation to any items of business on the agenda? Item 3, Chair's announcements. Since the last council meeting, I have attended several events, including attending the Durham University International Students' Welcome, hosted at Durham Town Hall, the Festival of Remembrance concert held at Durham Cathedral, and the Remembrance Sunday service and parade, again held at Durham Cathedral. Moving on to some recent council successes, I am pleased to report that a community rail partnership based in Darlington in South Durham has achieved success at the National Community Rail Awards. Bishop Line Community Rail Partnerships, of which Durham County is with their local railway line. It was the finalist in the 3 categories of the awards, coming in second place for the most effective communications campaign, with its Pass on a Smile campaign. Third place in the involving diverse groups category, with its own line connections, and a finalist in the involving children and young people category, with Creative Journey. The council team has won a national award for its work to help residents save money on their heating and energy bills. Our Warm Homes team received the National Heating Project of the Year accolade at the 2022 National Energy Efficiency Award. The accolade recognises the achievements of the team's Warm Homes campaign, which supports low-income fewer households by providing grants for new boilers and installation, measures to help lower their energy bills and give them a warm home. A member of staff of the council has claimed the national award for helping to put data at the heart of the difficult transformation of adult social care. Marion Ingle Digital and Data Awards. The awards recognise the achievements, particularly over the last 2 years, of individuals who work with the digital data technology or informatics role within health and social care. Finally, we have been recognised for our social work at national awards. Durham claimed a gold and a silver at the Social Work of the Year Awards, which special individual excellence and outstanding practice among social workers. We won a gold award for the Supportive Social Work Employer of the Year, which recognises organisations delivering excellent practice as an employer while also inspiring employees to achieve their best. Judges commented on our success in terms of staff training, including an innovative leadership academy, an academy for new qualified social workers. They also praised the Council's commitments to developing an open and supportive culture, staff well-being and peer support. Meanwhile, a silver award for Social Workers of the Year was given to one of our social workers, Consultant Nathan Head, who has been described as determined and inspirational. Having started his career with us 6 years ago as a student social worker, Nathan has been recognised for his hugely positive impact on children and young people across County Durham. I am sure the Council will join me in congratulating all staff involved in the achievement of these awards. Item number 4. Invite the Leader of the Council to present her report, please.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning, everyone. As we approach the end of 2022, I'd like to take a moment to look back at what's been an exceptionally busy, somewhat successful year for the Council. We have achieved a great deal across all of our services during the last 12 months. Our children's services have been rated as good with outstanding features by Ofsted, and as has just been stated by the Chair, we've been recognised at the National Social Worker of the Year Awards. We have launched a revised climate emergency response plan with an ambitious new target of achieving net zero by 2030. And we have also been awarded green status by Investors in Environment, the highest possible rating within the scheme. This was alongside receiving the award for overall outstanding achiever for a large organisation at the best in the county. We are also one of only 2 local authorities to be featured in this year's list of the UK's top 100 apprenticeship employers. All of these achievements significantly contribute to making County Durham a great place to live, work, visit and invest. I'd like to finish by wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I hope you will all be able to spend some well-deserved time with your family and friends over the festive season, and look forward to what I'm sure will be another busy year next year.
Nobody requested. Can I ask the Council to note the report, please? Number 5, question from the public. One question has been received at today's meeting. The question is from Mr. Forbes and is being displayed on the screen. Mr. Forbes is unable to attend the meeting and has requested that I put his question to the Council on his behalf. Mr. Forbes' question: considering the cost of new vehicles and councils need to save money and reduce their carbon footprint, has the Council considered using technology to reduce emissions, like the Atmos One system, which can reduce emissions and could be a green, cost-effective way forward in the current financial crisis? Can I ask the Cabinet Portfolio Holder for the Rural Communities and Highways to respond to this, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor John Shuttleworth, Member for Rural Communities, Highways and Community Safety. Thank Mr. Forbes for his question. The use of the equipment referred to by Mr. Forbes was raised during consultation on the policy as one considered by expressions by the Energy Saving Trust, who provided the Council with their opinion on the subject. The subject raised by trade respondents and the final response can be found in Appendix 4 within the Council minutes.
Thank you. Item 6, no petitions have been received for today's meeting. Item number 7, report from the Cabinet. Can I ask the Leader of the Council to present the report?
Thank you, Chair. Present the report as written in the papers.
No questions have been received in respect of the report. Can I ask the Council to note the report? Half update. Can I ask the Corporate Director of Resources to present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair and good morning, members. This report provides an overview of our treasury management activity during the first 6 months of the current financial year and the position at the 30th of September for the Council foreign and investments. The report meets the requirements of the Prudential Code and includes details of performance against the treasury management policy and strategy and prudential indicators agreed by County Council as part of the 22-23 budget setting back in February. The table of paragraph 12 provides a summary of our overall treasury management position, and members will see that at the 30th of September we had total debt outstanding of £468 million and total cash investments of £418 million, our net debt position therefore being £50 million. Comparison figures for the position at the 31st of March are provided in the table, and members will see that our external borrowing at the end of September was £50 million higher than at the 1st of April, reflecting new borrowing taken out in the first half of this year. Cash investments were £76 million higher, in part due to the new borrowing undertaken earlier in the year and timing issues around the delivery of the capital programme, plus the receipt of grant funding and expenditures to be 16, and the average interest rate paid on our external debt at the end of September is now 3.17%. An overview of our investment activity is set out in sections 19 to 22 of the report, and the table of paragraph 20 provides a breakdown of the institutions, the length of investment and the interest rate secured on those investments as at the 30th of September, and all of our investments remain in line with our treasury management strategy. In line with the requirements of the Prudential Code, the report sets out details of our performance against the various treasury management and prudential indicators, including details of our capital up to the end of September. As members will see, the Council continues to fully comply with its treasury management strategy and its policies on treasury management and is meeting all the requirements of the Prudential Code. The recommendations, Chair, is set out in paragraph 5 of the Council to note the report.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak on the report? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chair. Can I thank the Resources Director and his team for this comprehensive update on our Treasury management activity during the first half of this financial year, and for the information setting out our position as at the end of September. It's pleasing to note that the Council has continued to fully comply with all the requirements of the Treasury management policy and strategy we agreed at Budget Council in February. Carefully managing our cash flows, external borrowing and investments, and maintaining compliance with the relevant codes of practice in line with our prudential framework is fundamental to delivering on our fiduciary responsibilities for public money. And I know that the team are constantly reviewing our indebtedness and investment positions and managing our cash in line with the policies we agreed at Council in February. And with that, Chair, I would like to request that Council notes the report.
Okay. Can I ask the Council to note the report?
Great.
Item 9, Director of Public Health. Can I invite the Director of Public Health to present the report, please? Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members, and I'm delighted to be here this morning to present my 5th annual report as your Director of Public Health. You'll see in the report this year that we've made a bit of a shift away from the Taylor family, who was our fictional family that we describe in terms of health and well-being. It will be a year of transition. Thank you. It's also been a year of transition in terms of moving from, obviously, the pandemic being at the absolute foremost of everyone's mind, to really thinking about how we live with COVID-19 and how we focus on some of our other pressing priorities in relation to health and well-being. We've described this as a little bit of our building blocks for good health. We know, and you will know, that actually for people to live healthy and well, there are some really underpinnings such as a good home, good education, support family, and then things like access to health and care services. So we start to build those around people having healthier lives, fairer lives and protected lives. The different challenges in terms of the cost of living, and as we move into a winter that has got different infections from what we've had from COVID, so they face us a different set of challenges. Thank you. COVID-19, and that is reflected in the report. We've seen obviously that there is around about 20% increased potential demand in terms of our children's mental health, and that it has and will be compounded by the cost of living. We saw for our children and young people actually they were least affected physically by the pandemic with longer impact, and some of the work that we're doing with children and services, particularly around children's mental health, are going to be
our over 65s and 90% of our over 65s being vaccinated. We are seeing that slightly wane this year, I have to say, and that is going to be really important to retain a high uptake of our vaccination programmes. And a lot of that, although we have those challenges, a lot of those are balanced with the assets that we have in our community, your communities. You know, the voluntary sector organisations that have worked through the pandemic and are now setting up work in relation to warm spaces, for example, and they are real assets and really do help to protect the health and well-being of our local residents. The report also covers really in-depth updates in relation to health and well-being of people locally. And I think what we're seeing is that for the first time nationally as well, that health is almost starting to put the brakes on developments in other areas, because you can't have good health actually equals good wealth and vice versa. And for us in County Durham, we still have some of those significant challenges in relation to our local residents, both living a long life in terms of their life expectancy, and you can see from this slide that life expectancy is around 81 years for females, 77 for males, but actually something that's really lived in good health, which for both males and females is just below 60. And the priorities that we have in terms of health and well-being are to help us improve that, both in terms of life expectancy programmes of work. We need to target them towards certain work with some of our communities above the national average. However, we can't eliminate the fact that we still have some real significant challenges in terms of, for example, the reduced smoke during pregnancy and support that's provided to them. And I think that kind of wave of mental health problems is again a significant priority. Thank you. We've had this approach endorsed through the Health and Wellbeing Board for several years now, which is our approach to wellbeing, because it's something about having those challenges, but it is also about how we address those. And the approach to wellbeing, which has been evaluated this year, so we're really learning as we go what works a bit and what doesn't work, is about working with our communities and not doing it to our communities, because we know outcomes are better if that's the case. And you'll see several examples in the report, but one highlighted here is our Mental Wellbeing Alliance, where several of our organisations who focus on good mental health and wellbeing have come together in an alliance, and they are telling us, rather than us giving them the contract, about what is important to local residents. It's a really innovative and different way of working, and really monitoring that to see how it works, but it's a real example of how we are working with our communities and not doing it too. As we think and reflect back on the pandemic and how we live with COVID, we have moved from that response to actually think about how we live with. And I guess just what I wanted to draw out in the report was just how people have worked collectively across County Durham. I know it's featured in the last two reports as well, so this is really a summary. And for me, in terms of us, over 1.5 million tests to people, and particularly thinking about our more at-risk populations, to mobilise those on an ongoing basis. The contacts that we had with our schools were, really extensive, and that has really stood us in good stead. And again, with the vaccination programme, it's now been about maintaining that. And we see in the report as well this year, and certainly I had the pleasure of meeting Alfie with his family when he came and received his award for the work that he'd done during COVID. I guess this year transition in terms of health protection has also seen us deal with a whole range of issues which are identified in the report: food media, influenza, meningitis pathway, planning for winter, monkeypox, flu, and obviously currently would be strep, for example. So the work continues. In the report, and it was a recommendation from last year, was to make smoking history. We've just had updated figures of our smoking prevalence that we adjusted because how it was collected was different during COVID, and actually our prevalence is around 16%. rather than 40%, which is in the report. So it's declining, but it isn't declining quick. And we would really like to see smoking become history in County Durham. You can see how it impacts on poverty and on health and well-being of people, and also how it impacts on productivity in the workplace. People in routine and manual groups are twice as likely to smoke than people in other groups. So that leads to sickness and impact on our local businesses. So really important that we retain the prominence of smoking. We have got a really extensive and well-attended local tobacco lines, and reaching out for these 7 strands. We also are the lead commissioner for Fresh North East, which is our regional tobacco control office, and we are one of the only parts of the country that have managed for next year to achieve funding from all of our local authorities and match with our integrated care board, NHS partners, funding for Fresh. So, the potential of making smoking history is on the horizon if we continue with the work that we do. And again, just like in the rest of the report, we've got 2 examples here of local residents and who wanted to share their stories so that other people can learn. Because in particular, wanted this story shared here today in terms of the advice to never think that it can't happen to you. And I think these real examples are really important for other people to really understand the impact of smoking and hopefully to stop young people from ever starting to smoke. And we've got priorities looking ahead based on those kind of building blocks around healthier, fairer and protected. And what you'll see in the report again are some really great examples of the work that's taking place locally. So there's an example there around a programme of work around mental health called Now You're Talking, designed with local people, evaluated by local people who recognise the Now You're Talking lean framework in our schools, and schools thinking about their own priorities. So for Oxclose, that was about work in their lunchtime period. For others in the report, you'll see it's around mental well-being. And then in the third area, around some of our work on domestic abuse. And we are one of few authorities that have been white-ribbon accreditation for our work. But this is particularly sensitive, and if you pop on to the next slide, it kind of doubles up this slide. And this is about young person abuse to parents, which is a really difficult subject to address. And I think we're addressing those difficult subjects. And you'll see from the case study that the RESPECT programme that Talia was part of through our young people's services has really made a difference to a family's life. So in conclusion, this report is for noting the council will really think about the building blocks for good health, how important health and well-being is to every single resident within County Durham. It's really important that everyone, our council and our partners, prioritising health and well-being, and I can only do my job by working with others, and we've seen some really amazing examples of the work that's taken place throughout 2022 to hopefully improve and make people's lives healthier, fairer and protected.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Chris Hood, Portfolio Lead for Adult and Health Services. I'd like to thank Commander Healy and her team for this comprehensive report. As always, it ensures that the health and well-being of our residents remains a top priority for this council. The report reflects what we are doing to support people in living longer and healthier lives. I'd like to place on record my thanks to Amanda and all of the officers involved in the production of this report and for the hard work and effort that underpins it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Howard?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, thank you, Chair. Just want to ask a question. Are we able to go into schools to discuss things like the smoking situation? Just with the Howard councillor, Kathy Hunt on there. Obviously, she's just been in hospital last week for a removal of part of her second lung, so she's now got a full lung at all. And she's desperate to go out there and spread the word more now than ever. So that's something that we can do out there to schools and make them more aware of situations.
Councillor Howard, and then I think the fact that Kathy's come forward to share her story is really important, and Kathy's hopefully going to be part of the fresh work, which is around denormalising smoking and getting us to the point where we can see it as, that we do not have people smoking in County Durham. But when I showed the slide of the kind of strands of work on the tobacco lives, a lot of that work, particularly around, is focused predominantly at adults, because we know that the best way to stop young people from starting smoking is to reduce smoking in adults. So actually a lot of work in schools, we don't do a lot of education that hasn't proven to be particularly effective. However, the strands of work are there. We've got a wide range in our training standards, illicit tobacco work, a broader campaigning work, or work to smoking in premises. So there's a huge amount of work that we could be doing and can do, and happy to have a conversation about where that's best placed. But the best way of stopping young people starting this was to get our adult smoking as low as possible.
Councillor Boyce?
Thanks for that report, Amanda. Yeah, the life expectancy figures seem to restore that year-on-year increase for the last 100 years or so. The more concerned me is that somebody within the confidence going to live, even if they do reach an older age, have at least 4.5 years longer than somebody else in the rest of it. And now, that's concerning. I accept you saying we need to get in about smoking, but report to say that the number of people smoking is the lowest ever now. Now, with the increase in vapes, I don't know if that's a concern, whether that's a health concern, whether that's being addressed. And the gap between the more affluent areas and the more deprived areas, when we drill down to this 4.5 years, it's even worse in the most deprived areas of the country. Thank you,
Thank you, Councillor Boyce. Yeah, absolutely. I think it is something that's been seen nationally in terms of the increase in life expectancy. Life expectancy has started to stall, and certainly the work that we do, working with all of our partners, for example, through the Health and Wellbeing Board, but other partnerships as well, to really focus on the priorities that will address that gap in life expectancy and healthy life expectancy. And some of the just about this really good building blocks of good health, which are long term, and then there are some shorter term things which we can work on collectively, prevention of risk from heart disease and cancer, for example. And then slightly different, some of the external factors, some of our mental health and suicide prevention work, which is more targeted to men, for example, and women. So we're really trying to nuance some of our approaches to address those gaps and use our local data and intelligence as well as conversations locally to do that. Some of that learning from the pandemic, where we had a huge amount of information and things like our community champions. So our programmes of work are definitely more targeted towards greater levels of need, and the priorities that I've identified in the report should be those that address those gaps in healthy life expectancy, as well as working with colleagues on other areas such as access to good work, for example. And there's some really interesting work taking place there with mental health employment support workers, for example. So, it is about looking at those priorities and seeking to address that.
Councillor Charlton Lee, please.
Because of the catchment areas with schools that have high levels of deprivation, children that can't afford cigarettes turn to vapes, it's cheaper and easier to get hold of. And I just wondered that with the question about going to schools, I don't think we should be only focused on smoking, but we should be educating on the effects of vaping as well, especially for young children, because they're the most prevalent age that they have. And the other thing that's coming out of schools is if you're using like oxide as well, and I know that there's a lot of work being done around that with PCC and children, but that could also, like the long-term effects of using NOx gas, could be looked at as well.
Thank you. I'll start with the last bit, because we've certainly in terms of the nitrous oxide, the PCC has just chaired the first ever combating drugs partnership. We've actually talked about drugs and alcohol in County Durham and Darlington, and we've completed a needs assessment. on the nurse's office. In terms of vaping, the evidence is really strong that actually vaping is much less harmful than smoking, and actually to get over. We're really mindful of obviously where industry would be targeting new markets, for example, and certainly with young people, what we don't want to happen is that young people actually start to vape, and if young people are smoking weeds, then rather they vape than smoke. We've recently, across the North East, sent a statement out to all of our schools. So although we don't go into schools, we keep our education colleagues up to date, and happy to obviously share that potentially with councillors. You also got the most recent and understandable evidence, the piece that came out of the pages. So thankfully somebody digested that for me too. So that could be shared so people understand the risks and benefits of vaping. And we do have a dedicated scrutiny session talking about tobacco, and that came on the back of questions about vaping. So more than happy to share further information, both on to hopefully dispel some of the myths, but also some of the action and how vaping can be used to help people to stop smoking, but that we don't want people to start using vapes that they're not using.
Councillor Hobbs, please.
Thank you, Chair. Please bear with me because I do want to irritate cough. So I apologise if I start coughing. However, I've got these sweets and new water handy. I value the important work that you do. Obviously, the work that you and your team have done have really helped us throughout this period of time. Would you say the Taylor family and the work that's been undertaken? I think it's always appropriate to send out thanks to the team and to yourself, because the work that you do is the prevention we all experience, and your role and your team influences policy of this council, and we shouldn't lose sight of that. Obviously, you've been at the front end of the COVID, and obviously now we say people have got to live with it. I'm quite interested to see what research is being done. I know the programme's running at the moment, but in some future date, I'd like to see what research of the effects of the co-vaccines and give other long-lasting health conditions, which I think would be of interest to people. And the other point I wanted to raise was around the warm hubs, because I know we've got the warm hubs, and I don't want to glorify them, because I think we could probably do without them if we had the finance to be able to keep ourselves warm. However, I'm just wondering what work is being done in terms of the hard to reach people, the people that we do talk about within the report, the mental health sufferers, people who suffer from drug abuse, and also men's groups, and that list of that poor people that slip through the net, which I know councillors pick up on a daily basis. I certainly am, and really can't get them to the warm pubs. So I do think we need to look at that, and I was hoping some future report we may see that. I don't expect the direct answer to that now, but I think it's an important point I raised. Thank you.
Councillor Kay.
We have a mental disorder, like all disorder, like people blocking, care. We need to do that. I'm a service user, and I'm not report care. I need to do that. I'm a service user, and I'm not report, not just to your man, but I'm report the self-compassion. I couldn't see as a service user where the outcomes for me. I'll tell you now, last week we swapped and fired up another 19-year-old. When you're at your end, when you can't even get out of bed sometimes, that's when you have to fight to get access to mental health services. How somebody in that mental condition is supposed to get to where they need to be, it's beyond me, to be honest. It really is beyond me. And I want to know what we, as an authority, can do to simplify and smooth the path of people who've got a clinical diagnosis of depression or the anxiety. It doesn't really matter. So we get them there in front of people who really do matter, like a psychiatrist. It takes a long time. And in the meantime, we lose people because we do that in place. So coming in the North East, we can't sell this blue chip, not this place.
regards to the chip, and they had a guy who was off with a prescribed mental health disorder. 6 weeks, he came back to a warning for his time off. That's why that's outrageous. That's something I'm taking that elsewhere, to be honest with you. So, long story short, what are we doing? I mean, it's all very well, you know, coming in and presenting reports, a lot of reports, I have to say, with a lot of information in them. But they don't actually, to me, they don't actually say anything. It's not how well we've done, we've done well at what, because the outcomes to people on the ground don't make any difference. So what I'd like to know is, what can you do to make it, how can we make it easier for our people to go from first diagnosis, or even just not even being diagnosed, to getting that secondary, and we're getting into them, getting on their routes. It's very, very difficult. Because, to be fair to the bureau staff, and they're quite all work, I have to say, but that's not the answer, that's the problem. We need a solution, not a problem. Finally, I was just going to say, I think I'm not going to come over here, but you'll let that anyway, the group, a nationwide group that has several in County Durham, which are called Man Health, I don't think you've heard of them. And I have to say now, you can take lithium, you can take Prozac, you can take Pregabalin, you can take whatever you want, but the one thing that works, get people together and talk. Can't overestimate how important that is. And so I like to think that we could do some support groups like Man Health, who are at CIC, that they're not profit, to achieving what are very tangible goals. And finally, I'm going to bring up one. I know the 2 people who told me without Man Health that have committed suicide. They're the next ones on that line. We've got to stop it. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I think certainly in terms of the report, it was never intended to be self-help actually. I think it was, we really wanted some of those local stories to come through. Mental health is a real priority, and it is a real priority for both us within the council, but also for all of our partners, including the Westbury Valley Trust who you mentioned, and there is a response to those very, very sad deaths. That work in the community and close work in the groups like Man Health, who we are working with, are really, really important. So more happy to provide more details, the specific work that we're doing in relation to mental health. And I guess just to reiterate that it is a real priority for us. And I guess one example, which was in our talking, was developed with local development, was really aimed at trying to get people to talk about mental health, just as and said that this morning, to get more people to do that, to break that stigma, so that we can do that prevention rather than all of it focused on the crisis end. We are, however, doing work at that crisis end, and we are doing work particularly in relation to the suicide work at Bishop Auckland, and again, happy to share further details of that work with members after the meeting today.
Councillor
Chair, Councillor Brandon Bishop. Thank you for your report, Amanda. I echo Councillor Russell's words on that in relation to how valuable it is. I wanted to drill into one. I don't know whether the members are fully up to speed on this, but to me it's a really important matter because of the potential for avian flu to mutate into something that's transmissible between humans. And if it does do that, then the mortality rate we already know is actually much higher than COVID. So this is a serious matter, and the government's taken steps, obviously, to make sure that, for example, if it's detected in flocks of domestic birds, chickens in particular, then the entire group of chickens is destroyed. But there's a flaw, really, what I see as a serious weakness in the national governmental response. And that's that these same really quite tight restrictions don't apply to game birds. Now, game birds, particularly in County Durham, the game bird industry. So, at the moment, yes, those restrictions apply when the birds are in captivity, they're raised in captivity, and then they're released in very large numbers into the wild, so there's potential for spreading that virus. Across the country, about 50 million birds each year are actually released into the wild. So I'd like to have a little bit of reassurance, I guess, in terms of whether or not you directly engage with the again, very disagree in County Durham in terms of the framework created.
Thank you, Stephen. In terms of that, our framework it is really helpful to have that locally, because when we do see an outbreak, the providers have to respond really rapidly to ensure that there is no potential transmission to humans. I would, at the moment, I don't directly engaging with the gaming industry, but definitely will take that away and talk to colleagues. We work really closely with our colleagues at the UK Health Security Agency, obviously our environmental health officers, the animal health organisation. So I will go and double check that and also see what works happening nationally. But certainly locally, we've got a robust response, including rapid access to antibiotics for anyone who may come in contact with birds who have been infected. But I'll definitely double check that and come back to you.
Councillor Marshall?
Thanks, Chair. Just before asking questions, I'd just like to put on record our group's thanks to Kathy Hunt and to Charlie Keir for very bravely sharing very personal stories with the general public across the county and with us here in the chamber. Very brave thing that you've both done, and I'd like also to wish Kathy the very best in her recovery from her recent surgery. Sorry not to stay here today. I think I wanted to pick up on the point that Councillor Boyes raised around health inequalities, Amanda, because as we all know, health inequalities across the county, it's a postcode lottery. Wherever you're born in County Durham, you know, there's a good chance you're going to die a lot earlier in some parts of the county than others. And it's always been a big part of the work of the public health team to look at targeted interventions in those communities. And there's very little reference of that today. And I just wonder, after 12 years of government cuts and austerity, a COVID pandemic, and as we approach into a winter of discontent, what the impact on our communities of all of those combined things are, and whether or not there's been any research done or it's intended to do any research into the impact of austerity on our communities from a public health perspective. And the second point I wanted to make was that obviously staff across public health and the NHS who kept the country going and saved many lives during the pandemic, despite 10 years of cuts leading into it, in my view, being ill-equipped to deal with the pandemic. You know, they've all gone above and beyond. See what's approaching strike action being taken by nurses, ambulance workers, because never had a pay increase for 10 years with inflationary pressures, problems with recruitment. I wonder how prepared we are across the partnerships of public health for the winter that's coming up. It's very worrying to see that we're now expecting the health service to pay for energy bills to keep families warm over the winter. Thanks, Chair. When it appears the government's abandoned. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Marshall. And I really take on board your points around health inequalities and how to really grow that out and potentially even more in next year's report, because it is absolutely part and parcel of the work that we do. You know, an example that we're busy looking at currently is our fair access to our stop smoking services, and actually are people reaching and accessing the services from the areas of that. There is quite a wealth of research in terms of, particularly at a northeast and a north level, about the impact of both austerity, but also ingrained long-term health inequalities. Claire Bamber, who's at Newcastle University, so various reports that have been published on that. And I think obviously the work that does show that a lot of those things have been entrenched, but also they are things that we can make a difference to as well. Absolutely important COVID. And I guess I did want to put smoking back at the forefront of the report, because I did see that is the biggest impact that we have on health inequalities. 50% of health inequalities across County Durham is made up from our population who smoke, and when we're at 16%, actually, to get down to 5% is over 40,000 people giving up smoking. And that would have such an impact on, it would lift people out of poverty, it would help people in the workplace, it would obviously help with their health and well-being. concern for our services register or interventions. And again, working very much with our local community groups on that. We know we can quickly during the pandemic, ensure vaccination rates are as high as possible, make sure our cold weather plan is ready, and even with the level 3 alert that's come out and that's shared with actions for people to take. So I think we are doing as much as we can collectively, with every partner taking their responsibility within that planning and readiness for winter against the backdrop which continues.
Councillor Shirley Quinn, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Shirley Quinn from Shilton and Dean Valley. I just would like to say some work done around obesity. I've suffered through that throughout my life. You know, I'm not sharing this just willy-nilly. It has been a real battle for me. I didn't have a good diet as a child, and I know many of our children across the county have got inequalities and having to have poorer choices and poor diets, you know, mainly bulking up on fatty things, pastas and rice stocks and dishes to be able to fill them up, breads as well. So I would like to see a little bit more work done around obesity. I've actually had surgery last year, which you know, wasn't an easy decision to make, but it was the right one at this moment in time. And I can see so many more advantages for having that surgery. I know it's not something that everybody wants to consider doing, and that is if we are NHS and authorities. But I think we do need to have a little obesity line. I just want to say as well, as regards to your report, I'm the County Durham representative from the on the board, you know, and representing the council at those meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nobody else for this. Sorry. No, sorry, it was in terms of concept, you know, work around healthy ways and physical activity, you know, it is really important. We have seen an increase, you know, driven and due to the pandemic. So we're just refreshing on the consultation on physical activity strategy, which is about getting people moving, and that thing just closed yesterday. And we're really looking at our work around healthy wage, which we are identified some issues there in terms of food, provision, you know, that we still really measure our children in the school setting, and we're looking at how we support families in this. But a lot is also to do with our broader policy agenda. We do have a really clear policy package around takeaways, for example. So it's definitely that agenda, but I will take that away and make sure we do that. Councillor Chris Garty, please.
Thank you. Like my colleague, I will apologise if I start coughing. We talked about partnerships, and one of the partnerships is our surgeries. Some of my colleagues, because I know that I look after an older lady who is to say she had before for her injection for COVID.
You can say that the 6 of you are positive.
Yes. She's about there, and she's just been working at the drive. Lovely, and lovely for how she's doing it. Answer the letter. 3 letters here. I grant this time to say, this lady told them, oh yeah, what's up now? So the 80s went, the 70s went, the 60s, the 50s went. I kept bringing, oh yeah, what's up now? So one day, not being the usual calm person that I normally am, I went and I spoke and I learned. I'm sorry. I said, listen, you've said we would have thought that. That was so many weeks ago. This is 15 minutes later, we took Dr. Turtle to injection. But it was shaming them that did it. And that's the partnership for you. Thank you.
I mean, just to say, it's awful, you know, to have that individual case, anything like that, you know, myself or colleagues in the industry would prefer to know about it, because we can then end people who, you know, for people to go out to. So those individual cases, we would really want to know about, because that is where the priority is. vacancy.
Someone
Can
make
I
it.
ask the council to
Yes.
receive that report, please?
Agreed.
Item number 10, review of the council's Hackney Carriage and private.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. This report requests adoption of a revised and updated version of the County Council's Hackney Carriage and private hire licensing policy, more commonly known as the taxi licensing policy. The taxi policy is updated every 5 years, and over the last period, officers have kept the policy under review and identified the matters that require consideration for this next revision, including those changes in national guidance. This process resulted in proposals that were subject to consultation towards the end of 2020. Following a 12-week public consultation, the responses and representations received were appraised, and the outcome of this initial consultation exercise, together with several proposed changes to the policy, were reported to the General Licensing and Registration Committee in September 2021. While a policy could have been adopted at this point, the revised policy was deferred in order that a further short consultation could be held to ensure that the full effects of the COVID pandemic on both the taxi trade and on the travelling public have been taken into account. Separately, in March 2020, the government launched its own consultation on taxi and private hire vehicle licensing best practice guidance for licensing authorities in England. The outcome of this consultation was also needed to be assessed before bringing forward a new policy locally, and officers engaged with the Department of Transport officials and the implementation of our second consultation. The results of the final consultation were presented to the General Licensing and Registration Committee in November of this year, where members agreed the final revised version of the policy and also agreed to recommend it to Council that the adoption of the modified policy come into operation on the 1st of January 2023. So this extensive consultation process demonstrates and requests that have resulted from this consultation process. The consultation responses are presented in full in Appendix 4 and the revised policy in Appendix 2 of the report. The main updates to the policy as a result of this work are as follows. With regard to the updated vehicle emissions and manufacturing criteria for new applications for vehicle licences will only be accepted for vehicles manufactured to the emission standards of Euro 6 or above. The version of the taxi policy previously considered by the committee in 2021 recommended the implementation of proposals related to Euro 4 and Euro 5 emission standards. These concern the licensing of such vehicle renewals after the 1st of January 2023 and the 1st of January 2024 respectively. However, given the outcome of the second consultation, committee members agreed to extend these timescales to 2024 for Euro 4 and 2025 for Euro 5 vehicles. These are now incorporated into the policy. This has been extended to allow the taxi trade more time to renew their older vehicles, taking into consideration economic factors and the effects of COVID. In addition, the committee wished to avoid potentially disproportionately affecting wheelchair accessible vehicles, and it was agreed that this type of vehicle should not be subject to the general emissions control emissions. The revised policy also allows for removal of locality testing requirements for private hire drivers, although knowledge testing requirements still apply. There are also changes to regulations around the carrying of fire extinguishers in vehicles. And the policy includes the adoption of an updated policy on offences to bring previous local guidance up to date with national guidance. There's a provision for training related to safeguarding and disability awareness, and there are changes to the rules on displaying labels. In conclusion, the revised policy, which has been recommended to Council by the adoption by the Licensing Committee, has been produced following a thorough comprehensive consultation process. It incorporates best practice and it aims to strike the right balance between the matters necessary to achieve public protection without making the application process unnecessarily difficult or onerous. It will provide legal duty. And the policy has been subject to initial equality impact screening assessment, which has taken into consideration the current taxi policy and the proposed revisions to the policy as agreed by the committee. Final policies are presented in Appendix 2. The recommendation in paragraph 11 of the report is to agree to adopt the new policy with an implementation date of January 2020.
Can I have a movement to adopt the final version of the policy to come into operation on the 1st of January 2023? Councillor Shuttleworth.
Thank you, Chairman. policy that's presented here today has been developed over a considerable period of time and incorporates national best practice and updated government guidance from the result of a significant public consultation within the county. The decision we're taking earlier this year to provide further time to consult the potential effects of the COVID pandemic on the implementation of this policy is the right one and has been shown to have been useful for both passengers and the trade. The resulting policy has been developed following careful consideration of all these matters by our General Licensing and Registration Committee, and it is their recommendations that are brought here today. A committee which is a cross-party committee, and 14 members made that decision. It's a considerable piece of work. I'd like to thank the members of the committee for their ongoing dedication and commitment in this area. Developing a policy such as this can be challenging, with many interests to consider, balance, and I know that our committees work hard to ensure the best interests of the public is of most importance. There are a number of updated clauses within this revised policy which is designed to enhance the safety and protection of the travelling public and to improve environmental standards. Where new measures have been brought in, they have been phased in and allowed time to adapt where appropriate. The revised policy is well balanced and takes our licensing regime forward in line with our corporate priorities. I propose this policy for adoption to the Council.
Thank you. And the seconder, does any member wish to speak on this report, please? Can I ask the Council to approve the report? Oh, sorry. Councillor Moore.
Thanks, Chair. Some members of the Council will have received an email from one of the groups representing taxi drivers in County Durham this morning. It's got quite a lot of detailed information, and I'm just wondering whether the Cabinet member would agree to meet with the Taxi Driver Association face to face to talk about the issues that raised in the correspondence with us. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Shuttleworth, would you like to respond?
Chairman, as I said before, there's 14 members made the decision. 8 Labour members are present. I'm not aware that any of them were against the recommendations in the General Licensing Committee. So what it is, it is.
Richard, what is a bit come on. I'll just ignore that now.
Councillor McLean? McEwen, sorry.
Sorry, Chair, can I raise a point of order? I don't believe I received a straight answer from the Cabinet member other than it's nothing to do with me, even though it's got my name on the report. Everyone's had a chance to have a say and it's going through. I didn't get an answer when you meet with this association. Obviously, on behalf of the Labour Group, I'm going to go and meet these taxi drivers and speak to them and listen to what they've got to say. But I think it would be really, really good if I could be accompanied by a Cabinet member whose name's on this report on behalf of this Council, Chair.
Just say yes, John.
Councillor Shuttleworth, would you like to reply to that, please?
Chairman, I've removed the report that's been approved by the General Licensing Committee. The chair of that committee is here. She's put a request in to speak. Yours isn't Mrs. Blake, that's fine. And I believe the officers did meet with the taxi people as well.
I think Councillor Shuttleworth has responded to the question. You might not like the response to the question. I suggest it's outside. We have other members registered to speak. Sorry, just clarify, Councillor McKeon, do you want to speak?
And my point was covered in Councillor Marshall's point of order.
Councillor Neville-Jones?
Thank you, Chair. I'm one here with this council, you know, but I'm a passenger transport operator myself. You know, restrictions on taxis is a good idea, like, you know, in the minutes that I don't agree with it, you put your hands on these, that's next month. Euro 6, when we have people playing, that's all we do. So, the highway system, that's the whole thing, it's, sorry, I don't agree with it, thank you.
Councillor Blakey?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Unfortunately, I have to chair the meeting where this decision was made unanimously with all our members. The members of the taxi people were there, including the gentleman who sent the email this morning. One of the recommendations that we asked officers is that the taxi licensing committees attend working group meetings with the taxi drivers so we can all have the same story at the same time, so we don't have the experience of an email coming in as late as this morning and we're all singing from the same song sheet at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce?
Yes, a point of clarification, Chair. The cabinet member said that the taxi licensing committee has approved it. Well, we not being asked as a full council to approve it. I think that's what Councillor Marshall was trying to get, without like trying to paraphrase what he's saying. Are we not supposed to be now approving this policy, or is it just the taxi licensing committee that approves the policy?
Perhaps I'll take that because it's a legal question. The licensing committee is responsible for recommending the policy to council for approval. But in doing that, it indicates its approval with the policy. So if it wasn't prepared to recommend it, it was unhappy with the policy, it would have gone back before it was presented to council.
Councillor Fontana?
No, I'd just like to be noted that I disagree with it as well. I don't think it's the right time to be changing things when the industry is just getting back on its feet.
Councillor Tinsley?
Thank you, Chair. I've listened to the debate, but I'm not clear that the issues were raised, the issues were not raised in the email this morning from the representative of the Taxi Association that concerned the previous meeting. So I know I'd be much more content if the meeting did take place between the cabinet member, the representative of the Labour Group has been suggesting for that take it forward. Thank you.
Councillor Cruz?
Thanks, Chair. It looks like this report is falling apart in front of us. Can I suggest that we defer the report until the relevant cabinet members met with the Durham Taxi Drivers and Private Hire Association? I think that's the only way forward, because they do seem to be quite a bit of discontent with the report as it stands.
Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion without notice to defer a decision on this to allow for a meeting to take place with the trade as has been suggested. It's been moved and seconded, so we will need to vote on it. Give the team a couple of minutes to load the vote.
Agree to the first.
Can I just ask which organisation are they obviously expected to read? Because this email comes from the Durham Taxi Association. Is that across the county, or is this just the Durham City Taxi?
Why would we defer?
Councillor Marshall, we have not seen this email. So therefore, where does the gentleman come from? Is he a Durham taxi driver or an outside taxi driver?
Chair, it's from Durham Taxi and Private Hire Association. I know that they're well engaged with the local authority over a number of years, including when Labour were in Durham Council, so it's well known, represented views of taxi drivers well around the county. And I just think we should defer until the discussion can take place between this group and the cabinet member.
Yeah.
Let's agree to the first.
Okay, so the vote is ready. If you're voting in favour of deferring the item, it's 1. 2, if you're voting against deferring the item, it's 2. And 3, if you wish to abstain. Vote's open.
Why couldn't Johnson call us? I think it's been really all right.
Motion to defer the item. 492 against 24, abstain 2. Motion is carried that the item be deferred.
Have you got to do the second this next one?
Item number 11, creation of a new Head of Policy Affairs Force. Can I ask the Chief Executive to present the report, please?
That's okay, there was a motion without notice to defer the item, so that which is being carried, so the debate's closed.
Nothing to do with the debate. What it is, you might think I'm being that when you're the chair, you're as the chair of this council, if you're able to, you take your lead stand.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. This report sets out information the decision of the Chief Officer Appointments Committee to create a Head of Corporate Affairs role, Head of Service 2 grade, and to delete 2 existing Head of Service roles as part of the restructuring changes. Council will recall that the cross-party Chief Officer Appointment Committee, the COAC, has delegated authority for the creation of new posts over £100,000. The COAC met on the 16th of June to consider the proposals of a new post and the savings of £80,000 per annum associated with the changes to the Head of Service structure, which will be factored in before the NTFP processes. Chair, the report sets out the information that was provided to the COAC and the rationale for the changes, and I can confirm that the new post holder, Steve Evans, currently employed by North Yorkshire County Council, will commence in post early in the new year. The recommendations of Council to note the report are set out in paragraph 10, Chair. Thank you.
Does any member wish to speak on the report? Can I ask the Council to move the report, please? Item number 12, request to change the name of the Parish Council. Can I ask the Head of the Legal and Democratic Service to present this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Hutton Head Parish Council have submitted a request to the County Council to change its name to Hutton Headley and Station Town Parish Council to better reflect the area covered by the Parish Council. The provisions for changing the name of the Parish Council are contained within Section 75 of the Local Government Act 1972, and a change of name doesn't require a community governance review. The Parish Council first proposed a change of name back in 2019 and undertook a consultation in March 2020, the details of which are set out in paragraph 13 of the report. There was a no response to that consultation, and in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Parish Council decided that it would undertake a second consultation at the point at which the pandemic was under control. Accordingly, a second consultation was undertaken between the 30th of August and the 27th of September, and the outcomes of that, as presented in the report prepared by the Parish Council, attached to your report as Appendix 2. That consultation had a slightly better response, with 73 out of approximately 750 households responding. 57 respondents, or 78.1% of respondents, supported the proposal, and 46 of the respondents actually live in Station Town, with 27 in Hutton Henry. A summary of the comments received are at paragraphs 18 and 19 of the report, but overall the responses provided within the consultation were in favour of the change. County councils for Blackpool are also supportive of the proposals. Whilst it falls to the County Council to approve the request for the change of name, there's no cost to the Council in doing so. If approved, the details will need to be published on the Parish Council and County Council's websites. Notification will need to be provided to the Secretary of State, the Director General of Ordnance Survey, the Registrar General and the Local Government Boundary Commission for England. If Council approves the name change, it will come into effect to coincide with the updated publication of the electoral register on the 1st of February 2023. Chair, the recommendations are set out in paragraphs 4 and 5 of the report.
Can I have a mover?
Yeah, Chair. This report's been through the All-Party Constitution Working Group, and therefore I move the recommendations as detailed in the report.
And the seconder, Councillor Keneally.
Thank you, Chair. The proposal for a name change for the Parish Council has been discussed greatly within the local community. It's clear that the residents are passionate about the change in name for their Parish Council.
report? Can I ask the council to agree the report?
Agreed.
On notice, the motions will be dealt with in the order in which they were received and detailed on the agenda. I will hand over to the monitoring officer to explain the procedure.
Thank you, Chair. The usual rules of debate apply. Movers and motions have 5 minutes to speak, and seconders and other speakers have 3 minutes. Members may only speak once on a motion, other than the mover, who has a 3-minute right of reply. If an amendment is moved and seconded, the debate moves on to that amendment. Only one amendment may be moved at any one time, and no further amendments can be moved until the amendment under discussion has been dealt with. Each member can speak once on the amendment, except for the mover of the original motion. They have a right to reply before the amendment is put to the vote, but may not otherwise speak on it. If, following the vote, the amendment is carried, it becomes a substantive motion. If the amendment falls, the debate goes back to the original motion.
Councillor Robert Foster, can you move your motion, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. Councillor Robert Foster, representing the members on the Daily Division. This was a life-changing decision made not by choice, but often an instinctive reaction out of love. A decision that can turn their lives upside down to provide a child with a loving, stable home and protecting them for a life in care. Thousands of grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters and family friends make enormous personal and financial sacrifices to support a child in crisis. When taking on kinship care and responsibility, there is often a sense of uncertainty. Whilst you experience all the emotions of becoming a new parent, you are also conscious of the fact that children are with you due to the difficult circumstances of the family member. However, there is no greater reward than giving a child in crisis the safe, secure and loving home they deserve. Kinship carers are a silent and unheard majority in the children's social care system, and they deserve a far greater recognition, respect and support than is currently available. It's widely recognised that kinship care delivers better outcomes for children. Compared to those in local authority care, children in kinship care benefit from increased stability and are better able to maintain family relationships. It's all too common that kinship care and poverty go hand in hand. In England, the government has set a national minimum fostering allowance to help foster carers cover the cost of raising someone else's child, or in some cases children. Yet they've not done the same for kinship carers, despite the fact they face the same costs and pressures. We all know the cost of raising children increases as they grow older, with shoes, clothes and food becoming more expensive. Yet any financial support offered to kinship carers is means-tested, discretionary and time-limited. We need a long-term plan where the children's care sector is not just better resourced, but is also better organised. I therefore welcome the independent review of children's social care, a review which is wide-ranging and calls for a radical reset of children's social care, starting by recognising that it is loving relationships that hold the solutions for children and families overcoming adversity. We are all corporate parents in this chamber, and we have a duty to ensure every child has the best possible start in life. Carers and the children they look after should not be left financially disadvantaged. Instead, they should receive a fair allowance to help cover the costs of raising the children who would otherwise enter an expensive and often sometimes ineffective local authority care system. The care system as it stands is broken. This is the perfect opportunity to put that right. I call on members here to support this motion and to recognise the vital role played by kinship carers in offering care to children when they most need it. Thank you.
Yes. Could I have a seconder, please?
So, Lucas Bennett, PD Resolution. My second motion was by Councillor Foster. We've all heard the saying that it takes a village to raise a child. Let's expand that to the county to raise our children. We have the opportunity here to do the right thing by putting vulnerable children in county government. If we support this motion, it could make a huge difference to these people's lives. The
help to ensure this happens more often. Foster care can be unstable with lots of upheavals and changes in parents. This is virtually unheard of in kinship families, enabling children to make strong family connections and thrive. I know 2 families in my ward, 2 kinship carers, both single parents who are providing stable, loving homes for the children in their care. Josephine has already brought up one child, a relative, to the age of 23. Now works and lives independently. She is the kinship care success story. Josephine now has guardianship of twin boys aged 8. She is getting older, but is giving these children the best care in life. It was delivered rather than disruptive foster care and strangers. As Josephine told me, the boys need to know they need to be in contact with their extended family members. They need to know who they belong to. And there's Christina, a kinship carer for her 4 grandchildren, aged from 13 to 9. Christina was in receipt of the 2-year financial support kinship package, but that ceased some time ago. Christina is now needs the end of her savings. She is facing hardship as she continues to raise the boys in adulthood. Neither woman received the same financial support as foster parents. It's nowhere near. Yet the outcomes for kinship care children are far better financially benefits local authorities across the country. Please support this motion and call the government to recognise the importance of kinship care. Let's provide the right financial support for our kinship carers and the children they love and care for. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gunn?
Thank you, Chair. The independent review of children's social care is very clear. It says, and I quote, that dysfunction of the current system means that many relatives are forced to become foster carers in order for them to receive financial support to look after their kin. This is not what they wish to do, but what they are forced to do. Now we know that what we're asking will come at a cost. Providing the right care should not be based on cost or profit. And I quote from the report again, Chair, which says, when finding a home for a child in care, our obsession must be putting relationships around them that are loving and lasting. And again, from the report, not from me, from the report, the government should update the funding formula for children's social care to better direct resources where they are needed. Now, which of us could not agree with that in this chamber? I fully support this motion.
Councillor Henderson, please.
Can I thank the Councillor Adcock Foster for his question and to bring this to our attention today. I welcome the publication of the independent review of children in social care and look forward to working with the government on the next steps. The government response to recommendations from the review is expected to be published later this year, for all the years slowly going by. And we hope this will lead to a much needed change, addressing some of the challenges in the system. The report was a welcome emphasis on children, on family support, and the importance of relationships, which we feel builds on our own work in the county in recent years. We also support the review's conclusion that significant additional investment of around £2.6 billion is required to rebalance the system away from the crisis intervention
to helping families at an early stage. As a council, we recognise the importance of kinship and their ability to prove safe care for a child within their family network. This allows children to retain all the positive influences of their family, as well as being protected from harm. In the county, we have expanded our work, building strong relationships with family networks to support children to stay with extended family rather than enter the care system. This work was highlighted as good practice in our recent Ofsted inspection. We believe that kinship carers can have a critical role in the lifelong care of children who need it, to enable that we have developed strong support services to work alongside the carers as a child develops and their needs change. This includes access to universal support, which as welfare advice as well as specialist services like full circle and supporting solutions. I welcome the recommendation of the independent care review and look forward to its implementation. However, it does need to be stressed to government that it is important that any new burden arising from the change made by the review are recognised with sufficient funding. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on the motion before I invite Councillor Adcock Foster to give his right to reply? Councillor Simmons?
As a member of the fostering panel that decide on whether a child has kinship care or not, we always work for the best interest of the child or children involved. Some children are much better within their kinship care, but some children are not. And we spend hours discussing what is the right place to put all of our children who need any form of fostering care. So it's a very long, thought out discussion as to where children are placed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sutton-Lloyd?
As someone who was a young baby benefited from this kind of loving care, I would certainly be supporting this motion.
Councillor Howie?
Thank you, Chair. As somebody who's written to the council before as a councillor on this situation, I really heavily support this, so I will be supporting this motion.
No need to say so.
There's no one else registered to speak. Councillor Adcock Foster, would you like the right to reply? Right, then we'll go to the vote. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Can we have a show of hands, Chair? I think everybody would support. We need to go through the process. Three.
Can it be agreed without a vote?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Councillor Angela Surtees, can you make your motion, please?
Chair, I'll try and keep what's going all the way through. I might have to take a break after just going to start off with a quote first. There can be no keener revolution in a society's soul than the way it treats its children. And those are words spoken by Nelson Mandela. What I just want to quote on is like, oh, poverty is a terrible thing, and child poverty is probably the most pernicious of all. And it's all too often an effect that lasts for a lifetime. And we all know in this chamber that the North East has the highest rate of child poverty in the country now, at 38%. A little while ago, child poverty was due to have ended in the UK by 2020. But unfortunately, we've got a new government who threw out the action plan that had reduced child poverty by nearly 8%, and introduced a welfare reform bill which did plunge thousands of families into hardship with austerity measures, increasing child poverty by 13%, and along with that, did remove the dignity and heightened stigma for people and the eligibility criteria for access to free-skilled meals, and notwithstanding, COVID also exacerbated this effect as well. Eligibility for free-skilled meals is very complicated and often dependent on circumstances, earnings, benefits, and postcode now. The Scottish Government has put in place legislation that, to a large extent, retains the binding targets for child poverty reduction that were removed in England in 2016, along with an ambitious programme of new investment and policies which include free-school meals for all primary school children, with Wales following suit. This government commissioned the National Food Strategy, and in 2020 Part 1 was published with some firm recommendations, one of which was to extend the free-school meal offer to support the country through COVID and prepare for Brexit transition. In fact, this council almost unanimously fully supported the right to food motion that was presented here at that time. The ambition of introducing universal free-school meals for all primary pupils would obviously get rid of all the issues around eligibility, privileges, and work disincentives. And enrolment stroke bureaucracy was created. This creates the skills for council and also issues around student. And indeed, this is what is now in the process of creating private pupils in Scotland and Wales, with the pupils in England being left behind. It's a simple motion that I've presented today, but it is also one of huge importance. There is talk about extending the school day to keep children warm, so is it not right to also lobby to keep our young children fed too? With costs of food and fuel both rising sharply, and amidst rising levels of food insecurity, the government needs to find innovative solutions to support hard-working families with children. Offering all primary-aged children a free lunch at school would be overwhelmingly popular with the public, our communities and our families. In Key Stage 4, approximately 16,000 In Key Stage 1, County Durham, we have approximately 16,000 children, with only 5,005 actually eligible for free-school meals. However, the universal offer covers that whole 16,000 cohort of children. These are from spring figures, so we could be slightly higher. In Key Stage 2, which is junior school, approximately 23,000 children, and only 7,813 children are eligible for free-school meals. This motion would by writing to government that this motion would give an additional 15,000 children a hot, nutritious, balanced meal. At least one a day, and it would go a long way to support our County Durham families. Thank you, Chair. We're all mums, dads, grandparents, aunties, uncles, and we can take action to fight for our future generations of children. If we truly can measure the society by the way it treats its community and children, then I ask that we all show our hands today in this chamber today and vote to support the motion which is shown on the screen. Thank you, Chair.
Seconded, Councillor Gunn.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor certainly has most of the issues that are the crucial ones, but I'll be fairly brief. I As Councillor Sturgis stated, the Scottish Government has led the way, and Wales is committed to following, and probably earlier than planned, I think, given that the poverty position in Wales is similar to that of County Durham, and they too have their poorest children who are starving. I have no apologies to using that is emotive, if you like, language, starving children, because I'm absolutely certain that that is the situation that these children are in, these families are in. And I make no apologies either for repeating the same information that we already know. We already know across this chamber that children do not learn if they are starved. They cannot learn if they are feeling the hunger pains in their tummies. They cannot learn. And only families earning under $7,400 a year qualify for free school meals. So we must remove the barriers to free school meals and the stigma of free school meals by making it universal. We all know we're looking at the highest level of inflation in 40 years. Families are living in poverty, and they are at breaking point. And they're being joined by those families who are in decent paying jobs. So I'm saying to you across, everyone across the chair, a hot, nutritious meal for primary children at lunchtime is not too much to ask. Please support this motion. I second the motion, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Mark Wilkes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Mark Wilkes, Bramallgate and Newton Hall. By most calculations, we live in the 5th or 6th biggest economy on this planet. And if places like Finland, Sweden, Estonia, India, with a GDP of $2,500 a year, can afford to provide a free school meal, then to me it's illogical for anyone to suggest that this country can't afford to do it as well. I'd like to thank the Councillor for bringing this motion, and I fully support it.
Councillor Alan Sheep.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Alan Shield and morning members, representing the Ledgate Military Division, and also the portfolio holder for Equality and Inclusion. Can I also thank Councillor Surtees for bringing this motion. Through the work led by our Poverty Action Steering Group and the Child Poverty Working Group, as well as our wider partnership network, we are having ongoing extensive discussions in relation to free school meal take-up to ensure that wherever possible the take-up is maximised. I understand that similar discussions have taken place at overview and scrutiny meetings, and I know that this is something that all our primary schools promote. I'm aware that the infant class free school meal funding is currently supporting over 13,000 children across County Durham to access a school meal. We should all be concerned over the take-up of a free school meal, which has increased slowly in recent years, but is still only 84%, meaning that 60% of pupils between reception and year 2 choose an alternative by bringing a packed lunch. Thankfully, school meals have changed a lot since I was at school. They cater for a much wider choice and provide a very balanced and healthy option. The latest data shows that there are some 22,873 children in years 3, 4, 5 or 6 attending a junior, primary or special school currently, with just under 8,000 or equivalent to 35% of these children being eligible for free meals, meaning almost 15,000 or 65% are not eligible. Across all maintained primary phase schools, covering 150 free schools, including infants, juniors, mainstream primaries and 2 special primaries, free school meal take-up is steadily rising, but the rate is still a disappointing 78%. We have been and having ongoing discussions with our partners, including our school leavers, other local authorities, and with the North East Child Poverty Commission, who have backed the ambition of introducing universal free school meals for primary pupils as part of their No Child Left Behind campaign. We fully endorse this campaign and appreciate that it would cut through the issues around eligibility, the administration around enrolment, and the ongoing issues around the associated stigma of claiming free school meals. With that overarching aim, the North East Child Poverty Commission have sought to lobby central government to change the eligibility entitlement threshold as it currently stands, so that it covers all pupils where households are in receipt of universal credit or any legacy benefits, alongside their long-standing aspirations that free school meal entitlement be a universal offer. This would be the simplest and most effective way of ensuring the support reaches all children and the young children affected by food insecurity. This could be reinforced by a system of auto-enrolment with an opt-out clause using the data already held on eligibility. I also know that such approach is backed by the Local Government Association. More locally, much work is being done to identify what barriers exist in relation to the existing scheme, so that those challenges can be addressed and take-up can be increased, that everyone who is entitled to it receives it. Following the recently held North East Child Poverty Commission conference here at County Hall, Durham, I've taken the opportunity to write to the Secretary of State for Education. Just finish off, Chair, if you don't mind. If I'm reminded just to finish this last sentence off, that we do endorse that all primary school children have the opportunity for free school meal entitlement, and that as a minimum, households in receipt of universal credit or legacy benefits are entitled to free school meals. I've also asked the government to look at auto-enrolment for Healthy Start vouchers. With that, Chair, I endorse what Councillor Surtees found in a motion, and I ask Council to fully agree with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Lloyd, Stonewall Division. Been rereading over this motion, and I understand the sentiments behind Councillor Surtees bringing this here. However, the problem I have with this is it's for all our primary school children. I'm of an opinion that if there's families from very affluent backgrounds, if they can pay, they should pay. You know, and I do believe that it's not right that low-income families, and that low-income families will increase under the current climate, should have to pay through taxation for affluent families' meals. I don't think that's right. That's going to make them even more less affluent, you know. So, as this motion is written, unfortunately, I can't support this motion because I don't believe that poorer families should pay for richer families' children to have a free school meal through taxation. Thank you.
Councillor Elmer, please.
Thank you, Chair. Point I'm going to make, I think answers that actually, but I haven't sort of prepared it that way. I think the point here is that the current approach to targeting that we have doesn't work. It doesn't actually reach everybody in the way that it should. So I think the only solution to ensure that we address this serious problem is to roll out that opportunity to all children. I think it's particularly relevant at this point that the debate in this has almost moved on. Just a few years ago we were talking about nutritional balance in meals, and then now we're talking about whether people will have food at all. So I absolutely support this motion, and I recommend that others do as well.
Councillor Boyes.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I support this motion. I'm talking what Councillor Lloyd said. The usual government especially stigma for those kids who are getting free school meals. And there's and said, well, surely we can afford to give our kids a nutritious meal. Surely we can. I've been lucky that I guess I was from a low middle class background, and nutrition was important in my household, and I was always like given a meal still dinners and all that. And I suffered from an idea of health, and I think there is a correlation between the public health report we had earlier and the issue of the discussion. Now, kids, when they're younger, if they haven't had the nutrition and they haven't had that I've been lucky that I had, but they're going to suffer later on in life. If we do research in those people who are living 4.5 years in poor health compared to other people in the country, I think a lot of it will be down to early years, how they brought up, the nutrition they had. So I can't agree that this should be tested. I think we can afford, as a country, to give all our kids a nutritious meal on one. You know, I represent over East, and our kids come to school who are hungry. We've had to set up a breakfast club, not means tested. All kids can come, and all kids can like sort of have a breakfast before they go to coming in hungry. And we didn't want to stigmatise them. We didn't want to say, you aren't having breakfast, so you can come to breakfast club. So everybody could. And I don't think the more affluent people are taking advantage of that scheme. I don't think the poorer people are saying, well, that's terrible that more affluent kids are joining this breakfast club. Everybody just gets on with it, and it means our kids are going to school and not learning without being hungry. So I totally support the motion, and I'm totally against what Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Shirley Quince, Children and Dean Valley. I just want to point out that my daughter works, she works full time, and her husband works part time. They haven't been allowed, and they're not entitled to any benefits whatsoever. And regularly, and I mean regularly, at least once in every month, I have to pay their shopping bill because we can't afford it. These are working people, these are people that are, successful in their own right, and I'm really proud of them. But their pressure, the pressures on financial burden on them is astronomical. And the school meal situation, we've got a 3-year-old child now that goes to nursery, and he pays for his school meals. And it's another additional pressure on people. And I fully support this, and I would like to see free school meals reinstated right across this country, and I do think it's a matter of urgency. Thank you.
We have reached time limits for motions on notice in accordance with the Constitution. We will now put the matter to the vote. Can I invite Councillor Service to give their right of reply, please?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just to say that I'm really encouraged by what everybody said in the chamber today. This is the right thing to do. These are our children, these are our generation. And I just want to say thanks to everybody who supports this motion.
Okay, because we have somebody said we will need to go to the vote on this, so it's 1 in favour of the motion, 2 against, 3 abstain. The buzzer will sound and the vote's open.
So we're talking to break now. That's when you're there. Rub you on in the treasure. Oh, well. Well, then why do you think people bring back inches to get through them? Yeah, yeah, some good lines.
Magic line. There's the next line.
So what point do you jump up to instead of 60 minutes? I'll just give it for
and then we know what we've got.
Yeah.
Calendar, are you moving the time out?
Yeah. We might have one next week.
Watch those now. Well, application is present. We've already read 409 against 2 abstained. Okay, thank you. Item 14, questions from members. No questions have been received at today's meeting. That concludes today's business. The ordinary council meeting, the extraordinary meeting, will follow this meeting. I would like to thank everyone for taking part, and to those members of the public and the media who have watched the meeting. We're going to have a 10-minute break. Could you please make sure you're all back?
What's lunch time?
Well, it's just